welcome to the Ndoa video series. My name is Carol Wanjao. I'm a pastor and I'm also a marriage and family therapist. And today I'm really excited to be welcoming you to this video series. And the whole purpose of our time together is to showcase, couples and to just share with and to just hear their stories so that we can learn from them on how they overcome their challenges. Because truth be told, every couple experiences a challenge or challenges in their marriage, and typically what happens that we come into marriage, we fall in love, we come into marriage with great hopes and great expectations, not expecting to experience any challenges. And so when we experience challenges, they catch us off guard, and sometimes we feel we've married the wrong person. We can get quite discouraged, but the truth is every couple goes through challenges. It's how they deal with it that makes the difference. And so today I want to share with you, or to expose to you, a couple, an amazing couple. This is Pastor Angie and Nick. They are pastors at Mavuno Church, and I'm so excited that they can join us today. And so I want to begin by saying welcome, karibuni sana, Nick and Pastor Angie. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we're going to start by asking the question, who are you? I think our viewers might not know who you are. And so we want to begin by asking the question, who are you? And I'm going to go with gentlemen first. I'm going to ask Nick just to tell us, who are you? How did you grow up? What was your growing up experience like? Who are you?
All right. I'm Nick. Husband to one Angie here. I'm the last born in a family of siblings who would have been three. Mm-hmm. We lost a sister earlier on, about 30 years ago or so. Mm-hmm. Two parents who are still alive and kicking and love maths and accounts.
Oh.
Yeah. Mm.
You're one of the rare ones.
I grew up in South B. Was born in Nairobi West, but grew up in South B. That's right. For most, I think, like over 20 years, I was in South B. Okay. So that is the place I know. Used to know all the vichochoros, the matatu drivers, the conductors.
Yeah.
Did a bit of conducting and driving at one point.
Okay. So yeah. Maybe you can tell us what are some of your childhood or growing up experiences that have shaped, you to become the person that you are today?
I think a part of what, apart from growing in South B and my parents' whips and slaps, I think what shaped me a lot was how I was allowed to grow up. I had a lot of independence when growing up. My parents were the kind of, they let you make decisions, whether they'll be good or bad, but you bear the consequences and the responsibilities of your own decision.
Oh, wow.
and you have to take that responsibility with you.
Okay.
So you can't make a decision and blame someone else.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's amazing, because nowadays we find it difficult, to take responsibilities for our decisions. It's a lot easier to blame our parents or to blame our spouses for some of the decisions that you've made. So, I mean, that's so commendable that you are raised to take responsibility for your decisions. Thanks so much, Nick, for that. We'll go now to Pastor Angie. Who are you? Where did you grow up? And what are some of the formative experiences that you experienced as a child that have made you the person that you are today?
Okay, so I grew up in Karen. We're from a family of 4 children, 2 boys, 2 girls, and my 2 parents. But what happened is, because we lived on a farm, our friends were our siblings. We were each other's friends. And so we're a close-knit family. Our other friends were animals, goats, chickens, and cows.
Yeah.
Those were our friends.
Yeah.
And so what happened is we became a very close-knit family that discussed everything, if you're going to the shop, where you're walking, where you're playing. And so we're just a very close-knit family that loves each other and just talks about everything.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
that's the family.
And Nick seems to agree with you. It seems like you talk too much. I don't know.
Actually,
According
I'm
to
in
him.
Netflix.
Okay, but so you grew up, and for you, Angie, you grew up, just a very close knit family and a family that communicates a lot. Okay, so you met. How did you meet? What is it that attracted you to one another? You seem to come from two kind of opposite kind of family backgrounds, but what is it that attracted you to one another? We'll start again with Nick.
Yes, I think her looks, for starters. I was paid to say that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I actually attend one of our campuses, Mabuno Downtown. At that point, I was even serving there as a life group leader. So one Sunday, seated in the balcony with one of my friends, this lady preacher comes and starts preaching with a sharp pitch voice. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh wow, I like her. So the lady seated next to me tells me that, oh, she was actually even in Desta, and I was in Desta. I was like, oh, the world is conspiring to bring us together.
Okay. So for you, was it love at first sight or interest at first sight?
Interest at first sight.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then, and so that is how you met.
That is how I met her.
Okay.
Before now, she met me. We actually realized that I started volunteering in church, in the accounts office, and her now she was there at around the same time.
Yeah.
So what happened was, I meet on the road, a very narrow place with a gate actually, that was only the entry and the exit.
Yes.
I say hi, she ignores me.
Oh wow.
So I'm like,
wow.
I don't know.
I have no recollection of this story. I think that it is a hoax.
I don't know what this conspiracy was driving me to, but eventually I actually got to now meet her and say hi.
Yeah.
And I think after that, the next words were, I like you.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh, you're forthright. You just told her straight. Okay, so how about for you? What's your version, Pastor Angie, of meeting? You say you have no recollection.
My version is the truth. My version is the truth. So I met him at that corridor, like he says, at that gate, I think. And so he just comes to me and says, hi. And then he says, I like you. And so, of course, there's no way you're going to forget a dude who just comes to you and tells you, hi, and I like you. So, and the look he gave me was for, I like you, like you. So I was like, oh my gosh. So first I was creeped out, like, okay, psycho alert. But I never forgot him. Yeah. And so next thing I see, he's volunteering, he's everywhere I turn. And I was like, what? So this guy, he likes me. But at the time, I wasn't really interested in dating. So what happened is the whole staff team, a bunch of people on staff team, let me just say, all conspired, like Ocean's 11, came together and drew maps and plans. And organized for us to be together all the time. And so I'd go hang out with a friend who is there. I go for something who is there, and dinner there. And next thing, he's even the one dropping me home. It was just hilarious. So what would happen is, I discovered he's genuinely a nice person. So I was attracted to him because he's genuinely a nice person. He's caring. He's who he is. He's comfortable in his skin, and so I got attracted to that. Yeah.
Okay. Oh wow. It's amazing that the whole staff team conspired to get the two of you together. So you've been together. In an earlier conversation, you mentioned that you've been together for 5 years, and that you actually ended up working in the same place. You both work at Mavuno Church. And the interesting thing is that for Pastor Angie, you're an executive pastor, so you hold a more senior position than Nick in the organization. So how has that been for you? I mean, we'll start with Nick. What is that like for you? A lot of times when people are working together, it's like this is a no-go zone. In fact, there's some organizations where you cannot even date, let alone remain married together, just because of the drama that happens in that kind of a situation. So anyway, so Nick, how has that been for you?
In fact, initially that was the reason she didn't want to date, that because we were in the same organization. But it's been a very interesting space of learning. what we've done is that we've drawn clear boundaries of our workspace. Her, especially being an executive pastor, there are also some discussions that she can't bring to the house. She can't debrief if things are not working, because those same people are still my bosses.
Yeah.
So those are part of the things. And then at work, I'm her support. I give ideas, suggestions. Then she's the decision maker, because her position puts her in that space. Then at home, when we get at home, she's the one now who's offering the support and the ideas. Then I make the decisions in the house.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And for you, Pastor Angie, have some people ever talked about it? Has your family ever asked you about it? Has it ever been awkward for you? How has it been like?
Well, it hasn't really been awkward. I mean, we have faced challenges. People have asked me how it plays out, like let's say at church, because on Sunday I'm a lead pastor, and my husband is there. So sometimes they expect him to sit in front. I don't even know, but he is my biggest support. And with a small child, he's usually at the back making sure that my child is okay. Sometimes he's the guy behind the scenes, setting up, setting down, going early. So he has been my biggest cheerleader and support. So that word that we use where we say you're the decision maker and I support you became very literal in how we work.
Yeah.
So at home, though, it's been a different story, because then I'm his support. So in decisions, but because when we dated, we interviewed, our dates were interviews. We used to show up with 20 questions,
Yeah.
and everyone used to have 20 questions, and we would ask each other random questions. And then we built what we feel, we built our view of success together. We built our view of where we want to invest, or what type of education we want to provide our children, how many children we want to have. So because we had already done that earlier on, I think my role just became to support this plan that we have already talked about and dreamt about. So what happens is, because it was very clear, when I come home, I'm not really making new decisions. I'm just supporting the plan. The thing is to figure out how to communicate so that I'm not offending him, because I am a strong personality, and learning how to say what I need to say in that space. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to push this a little bit for the two of you. And I think from your leadership styles, for Pastor Andrew, you say you're more upfront, and for Nick, you say you're more background. And okay, so I'm going to ask, so now that you're in the home, for you, Pastor Andrew, what are some of the frustrations that you go through just because of your two different leadership styles or personalities? What are some, the frustrations that you go through because of that?
So he takes time to process information. I think on the go, I already have a solution. As you're asking the question, I have 5 solutions, not just one.
Very true.
Very true story. So that can be a challenge to him. And then he's a more laid back. So what he wants to do is chill. It's not that he's a very laid back person. So maybe my feeling is that we need to act and move quickly, but his is let me think and process. Yes, all his ducks have to be in a row before we can move. Well, me, I'm like, we'll figure it out as we go. It's a good idea. Let's run.
Yeah.
And so learning his process, to appreciate his process. So we have rules about how many days he can process some things, and that he has to be the one to bring it up, just so that I don't feel like I am, because we've agreed that a nagging wife can be created.
Yeah.
So so what we've said is, how do we set up systems that don't make me a nagging wife?
Yeah.
So, and then how do I also appreciate his process? So he takes time to process. He needs time. The time to process is the hardest thing. And then for me, not to necessarily speak every time my 7 ideas, to learn maybe to just share one.
Okay. Yeah. So some of the processes is that so just tell us what some of the processes, some of the systems that you've set in place so that you're not a nagging wife.
So some are hilarious. So so there's the one for the 3 or 4 days. So let's say we're having a big argument about something that I think we need to act on. Let's say it's an investment. I've seen a plot of land and I want to buy it. I need him to get back to me in a specific number of days. And so we agree what the number of days is, and he has to honor it. And then I'm not the one to bring it up at that point.
Okay.
So, and it's not every time that we have a date night, let's say, he'll just have to find a way during the day to bring it up, and we resolve that issue.
Okay.
And then the other thing that we've come up with is, I'm not even sure, the 3-day thing works for us a lot. And then for me, or the other thing is for me not to necessarily share not to, what am I saying? Because I feel like I shoot down ideas quickly. I'm like ready with my shotgun. I don't know what it was. So to learn not to shoot down all the ideas. So to learn to listen. So when he's sharing, let him complete his thought, let him complete his process, and then maybe give it some time before I give feedback, because that can be can cause him to shut down even further. Yeah.
Okay. So for you, Nick, you get married, you like this girl, you get married to her, and then you realize that she's a firebrand. So how was that for you initially? I mean, I know you've made some progress, but how was it for you initially, with your firebrand wife?
I think first of all, the things that had attracted me to her were now the things that were putting up the fire very well under my seat. So what would happen is every time she'd come at me, those are the words I'm going to use, she'd come at me. It's not that we're having a discussion. I felt like she would come at me. I would shut down. I'd normally just shut, have the conversation in my mind with myself, and then agree. Then I move on. So how when she's waiting for a fight, it already happened. She was also in the fight, it's just that she didn't know.
He robbed me of a fight. Let me just say, good fight.
And then we move on. We agree that, in my mind, I've already agreed that, this is not a big thing. It doesn't need further consultation. And since the both of us have agreed in my mind,
that's right,
we just move on to the next thing, which I realized was, it's been frustrating for her, because at some points I still revert back to that, but we are a work in progress.
We've grown, but that was such a dramatic thing. I used to feel so offended that he would assume how I would respond, and then decide to resolve the issue and move on. That time I'm waiting for a fight on Friday. Me, I've come up with my 10 points. I'm ready. Then the man is like, no, I'm good. It's all good. I'm like, what?
She'd light a fire, I put it out, I sweep away the ashes, and then I leave the place clean.
So much drama.
So for you, Pastor Angie, it seems like you started off, you'd get, and this is common for couples, as you're getting to adjust and to know one another, you'd get initially very, very frustrated, but you seem to have kind of moved away from that. What are some of the things that you have learned that have helped you, just cope with, your husband's communicative style? What has helped you? What are some of the things that you have learned to do differently?
So, so I learned to let things go. So I learned some things cannot make or break my marriage, or I can't break my marriage because of specific things. So it's not a big of a deal. And so I had to have he says he has a meeting with himself. I'd call my meeting with myself, and I would decide that this thing is not going to break my marriage. And so, granted, maybe it's, I don't even know, whatever the issue could be, I made a decision and I would communicate it. I'd say things like, maybe this, when we're having a meeting about it, I'd say, this is the last time I'm going to bring this up. And whether you choose to act on it or not, I will accept, the decision you make in the future. So whether you mention it, bring it up, if you choose to or choose not to, I still love you. I'm still committed to this marriage. You make a decision and we move forward. And I literally pray and I let go of it.
Wow.
And I let go of it, and it is no longer an issue, whether he acts on it or not. So there are some things he has acted on. There are some things he's chosen to let go of, and I don't hold it against him, or I'm not going to bring it back in our marriage and say, even that time, I choose to let it go and we move forward.
Okay.
And I have communicated to him. Yeah.
Okay. So you choose not to get historical.
No.
Once you let go, you let go.
Hysterical.
Hysterical. Okay, so for you, Nick, your last name is
Yes.
Kimaru, not John or Brown. You're an African
Mm,
man, and you've married this Firebrand wife. And I'm sure growing up, there were just those whole thing. First of all, stereotypes of these
mm.
kinds of women, and even the ways to respond to that. So, what was your initial reaction and response in your marriage,
Well,
especially when your
in
wife came at you?
our marriage, there was a lot of silence when she'd come at me.
That's right.
Uh, Most of the time is because I don't know how to argue back, or I don't want to argue back, or I feel that this is not something worth arguing about. So in my mind, I've already made that decision. And now with my personality, once you make a decision, it's you die with it.
Yeah,
And so that would happen. Once I make the decision that this is not important to me, or it's not important for an argument, I would just shut down and then just keep quiet, talk to myself on the side, have the discussion, have the argument, sort it out, and then once me, myself, and I have agreed that it's not
yeah,
worth all the drama.
yeah,
Plus, I don't like drama. My personality, we are not for drama. Once
yeah,
we agree that this is not the drama we want, like I normally say, if it's not my monkey, it's not my circus. So I would usually go with that. If it's not, then I just block it out and I move on and I assume nothing happened. In fact, I go to the extent of assuming I wasn't even offended.
Oh wow, oh
Yeah,
wow,
so I act normal. Mm.
wow. And I'm sure that would infuriate Pastor Angie to no ends.
Yeah,
And she's already won the boxing gloves. She's in the ring waiting for
yeah,
a
I'm like,
sparring partner. Me, I'm outside having a burger and relaxing and enjoying and assuming that we are okay.
Okay. Okay. Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much, guys. I mean, I think this has been just a very interesting conversation, just seeing different personalities, different ways of communicating. And I'd like to kind of bring this to an end. But before we do that, I'd just like, just some parting shots or just some thoughts, that the two of you would have. And I'll start with you, Nick. And the question I'm going to ask is, what would you tell a person, a man who finds himself in your situation? You've married a woman who is very communicative, who does not fear confrontation. In fact, she's like, let's get it on. So, what would you tell, a man like that, and how would you advise him to lead his family, once he finds, rather than pulling back, how would you advise him to lead his family?
I think the first thing I would say is you have to look for some sort of way to create some self-awareness within yourself and understand your insecurities. Because a lot of the reasons that even when I look at my life and how I'd react to Angie, is that there was some insecurity I was fighting. Either I'm not coherent enough to be in an argument, either my points are too weak, or my points are not even valid. So at that point, I would not even engage. So my advice would be, get to understand what is making you react the way you are reacting when you're being engaged by your wife or your spouse. The second thing I'd say is you need to understand yourself. And once you understand yourself, you need to help your partner understand you, and how you tackle things, how you face issues, or how you handle issues. The thing with Angie here is that over time she's learned that you don't need to raise your voice to get me to do things. You don't need to point fingers or blow the roof, so to speak. There is a way you can approach me, and in fact, you will get better results as we laugh in what you wanted me to do, as opposed to when you attack, and maybe the person is used to going back and being reclusive. They will just shut down and sort of assume that there's nothing, like the proverbial ostrich. You're in the sand, once your head is in the sand, everything else around you may be happening, but you're okay because you can't see it. Yeah. So understanding yourself and understanding your insecurities.
Okay. Wow. Okay, that is very insightful. And because I think once you identify what your insecurities and also your communication style is, then you get to deal with it yourself. You take responsibility for that.
Yes.
Fantastic. Fantastic. How about for you, Pastor Angie? I'm just thinking about women who are who have your temperament, who are the more upfront. And especially given nowadays that there's a lot of women empowerment that goes on. And I think women are just sort of to just go for it. If your husband is not making the decision quick enough, just go for it. Whether he joins you or not, you can look back and say, Badai, we're going to meet when I am done with this project. What would you tell, that kind of a woman?
That's so fun. Okay. The first thing I would say is become a student of your husband, and learn his personality, learn how he likes to communicate, and just learn his history, where he comes from as a home. So when I'd visit his family, I would watch how they argue, I'd watch how they discuss things, and that then it spoke into, this is where he's receiving information a certain way, and receiving information or reacting a certain way to me. And so it helped speak into our marriage. And then, because at the end of the day, we married each other because we love each other. We want the best for each other. He does want the best for you. So become a student of your spouse. I think that's my biggest learning, because I've learned how he communicates, how he processes, and I've appreciated his strength. That's the reason I fell in love with him. That's the reason I married him. So how do I then bring that to shine in my family, in his leadership of our home? And let it shine. And so that's what I do. And then the second thing I'd say is pray for patience. Pray for patience, pray for self-control, and invite God into that space, because it's not every time that you need to speak and share your 7 points. It's not every time that you need to shoot down ideas. Listen to him, listen to what he has to say, and then let things go. Let it go. Learn to let things go.
Yeah.
Big deal. Yeah.
And I think that is such a big thing right there, where you're saying learn to let things go. And I think it goes for either, spouse. There are many things that we truly do need to let go of, and actually release them to God. I personally, I know that as I have released things, I have seen God coming through. And this is not a cliche, but honestly, God comes through when we let go. So thank you so much. I want us to pray very shortly, and I'll ask you, Nick and Angie, to pray. But I want to say, for anyone who is watching this video series, and you realize that, hey, I'd like prayer for my marriage. I identify with some of the issues that we have discussed tonight, and you're not part of the Mavuno community. There is a link, at the bottom of this video, where you can, sign up. You can even indicate where you live, so that a pastor who lives near you will call you and pray with you and even counsel with you. And as we are kind of wrapping this up, we've been going through this little book called Negativity Fast. And for those of you, if this is your first time to be, to be on this video show, this is a book written by a lady. She's a friend of mine. She's actually called Dr. Geneva. And she wrote this book out of as a way of solving her own issues of negativity. And she said, why don't I just think through all the various areas in which I am negative, and kind of come up with the scriptures and understanding of how to overcome this negativity. And so today, this is day 10, and I love this thought. And it says, today we fast against the thought of, I can't control my emotions. And when someone has that thought, they camouflage it with statements like, this is the way that I am. Take it or leave it. For someone who has Nick's personality, you're like, this is the way I am. I take time, to process whatever it is that I'm processing. This is the way I am. If it is someone like Pastor Angie with her personality, again, she'll say, this is the way that I am. I can't control my anger, or I can't control my outbursts or my frustrations. And so, but when we come with this kind of thinking, then we really do enter into a lot of conflict as a couple. Yet the reality is that we can grow. As Nick and Angie have shared with us, they have grown. I think for Nick, he says he processes things a little bit faster than he did when they first got married. And for Angie, she has slowed down her own processes a little bit, so that now they are they're getting to a good balance. And so we can change and we can grow. And so I'm going to ask Nick for you to pray for guys who may be like you. Just pray that they grow, or whatever it is that the way that you have changed and grown, pray that for them. And then I'm also going to ask for Angie to pray the same way that you have grown. Pray for anyone who would be listening, who is like you, that they would grow in the same way that you have. So let's pray.
Okay, I start or Nick?
Nick can start.
Oh, okay. Let's pray. Father, we just want to come before you to worship and exalt your holy name. We come at your feet, Father, to declare our love for you, O Lord. Father, Lord, we just want to thank you for even this platform, Lord, that we get to share our marriage stories, oh Father, Lord, and change will be seen through this, oh Father, Lord. I just want to commit the men who are watching this show, Father, Lord, and they feel like they are tired or frustrated, oh Father, Lord. I pray, Father, Lord, that you may just renew them and refresh them, oh Lord. Father, Lord, just as you've brought me this far, Father, Lord, I pray that there may be another testimony and another testimony, Father, Lord, of your goodness, of your mercy, O Lord. I just want to pray for wisdom and knowledge, even as we lead these strong women, Father, Lord. We are all your creation, O Lord, and only you know what is in our hearts, O Father, Lord. I just want to pray for protection also, Father, Lord, even for the marriages that are in this space, oh Father, Lord, that you may just take care of them, oh Father, Lord, and give the guys the guidance and the knowledge, oh Lord, to navigate the waters, oh Father, Lord. I pray all this, trusting and believing in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Lord, I want to pray for any woman out there who is a strong, fierce woman. And I thank you for her. Thank you for the strength that she brings into her marriage. Thank you that this is the very reason you brought her to a man like this. So thank you for our husbands. Thank you that in their personality type, it is exactly what we needed. We need their strength and their support and their silence so that we can be heard. Thank you because they are really our support. And so I pray that for that woman who wants to learn her husband, I pray that you would grant her wisdom. I pray that you would open up her eyes to see her husband as you see him and to accept him fully. I pray that you would give her strength to learn patience. I pray that you would teach her how to be quiet. I pray that you teach her how to have self-control, how to honor her husband with not saying anything, how to honor her husband with her actions and with her choosing the moments. I pray that you teach her how to quiet her voice. I pray that you will teach her how to speak in a manner and to show him not just in her speaking, but in her actions, that she honors and respects him, and she honors the gift that you have given her, which is her spouse. And I want to pray that you would grow their marriage. I pray that you would grow their love. I pray that you would teach us how to let go of things and enable us to invest in the right thing, which is our husband and the relationship that you have put us in to enable us to grow to become fully who you want us to be. So I bless their marriages with all the joy and all the love and all the passion that you desire for them in Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you so much, Nick and Pastor Angie, for joining me this evening. Thank you so much for the wisdom that you have shared. It's my prayer that, other couples will learn from you. You've been married for 5 years. That's enough time to be a mentor to someone who is married for less years than you are. So thank you so much for joining. And for the rest of us, that is all that we have time for tonight. Yeah, if you haven't watched the other video series that I have put out, go ahead. There's so many topics that we have been dealing with. And so until next week, it's good night from all of us. Thanks and God bless.